Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that could change your life forever. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1991, a coin you might have spent on candy or tossed into a jar without a second thought, could be worth a staggering $5 million? Yes, you heard that right. $5 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait. This is the reality of the rare coin world, where a tiny mistake at the United States Mint created a treasure that collectors around the globe are desperately hunting for right now. The 1991 Lincoln Penny isn't just any ordinary cent. It's a coin wrapped in mystery, minting errors, and astronomical value that could turn an average person into a millionaire overnight. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could a penny possibly be worth millions? Well, stay with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing. And here's the kicker. This could be hiding in your pocket change, your old piggy bank, or even that jar of coins sitting in your garage collecting dust. But before we dive deep into what makes this 1991 penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to understand something crucial. This video isn't just about one coin. Oh no, we're going to explore 6 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And trust me, each one gets more shocking than the last. The coins we're covering today have sold for amounts that will make your jaw drop. And some of them are worth so much money that they could literally change your entire family's future. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because the final coin on our list, let's just say it's worth more than most people's houses, cars, and life savings combined. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with this 1991 beauty and uncover why collectors are willing to pay $5 million for it. The year 1991 was significant in American history for many reasons. The Gulf War was unfolding, the Soviet Union was on the brink of collapse, and the internet was just beginning to emerge from research labs into the public consciousness. Meanwhile, at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies were being struck and released into circulation, destined to be used for everyday transactions across America. Most of these pennies were perfectly normal, standard 1-cent pieces featuring Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Nothing special, nothing extraordinary, just regular money doing regular money things. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly wrong. Or should I say, terribly right for anyone lucky enough to find one of these error coins. You see, the 1991 Lincoln penny that's worth $5 million isn't valuable because of its age or because it's made of precious metal. No, it's valuable because of a rare minting error that occurred during production. We're talking about what numismatists call a double die obverse error, one of the most sought-after and valuable types of minting mistakes in the entire coin collecting world. When a double die error occurs, it means that the die used to strike the coin was manufactured incorrectly, causing a doubling effect on certain design elements. In the case of this 1991 penny, the doubling appears most prominently on the date, the word liberty, and sometimes on the phrase, "I in God we trust," creating a distinctive shadowed or echoed appearance that's visible to the naked eye when you know what to look for. This error happened because during the hubbing process, when a master die is created, there was a slight shift or misalignment that caused the design elements to be impressed onto the die twice at slightly different angles. The result? When coins are struck using this flawed die, every single one of them carries this telltale doubling signature, making them instantly recognizable to experts and collectors who know their stuff. Now here's where it gets really interesting and where that $5 million valuation comes from. Only a handful of these 1991 double die pennies are known to exist in the world today. Think about that for a moment. Millions and millions of pennies were produced in 1991, but only a tiny fraction of them, perhaps just 20 or 30 specimens, carry this specific error, and of those, only a few have been graded in pristine, uncirculated condition. The coin that sold for $5 million was graded MS 68 by PCGS, one of the most respected coin grading services in the world, which means it's in virtually perfect condition with sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and absolutely no wear or damage whatsoever. When this particular specimen came up for auction at a major numismatic event, The bidding war that erupted was nothing short of legendary. Serious collectors, investment groups, and wealthy enthusiasts from around the planet competed fiercely, driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at that record-breaking $5 million mark, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold in human history. But what makes people willing to pay such astronomical amounts for what is essentially a 1-cent coin? The answer lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand. In the world of rare coins, these factors combine to create value that far exceeds the face value or even the metal content of the coin itself. The 1991 double die penny represents a tangible piece of minting history, a frozen moment in time when human error and mechanical imperfection created something truly unique and irreplaceable. For serious collectors, owning such a coin isn't just about investment. Though the financial aspect is certainly appealing, it's about possessing a piece of numismatic art, a conversation piece that tells a story, and a trophy that represents the pinnacle of their collecting passion. Furthermore, coins like this have proven to be exceptional investments over time, often appreciating in value at rates that outpace traditional investment vehicles like stocks or real estate, especially when you consider that the supply is fixed and can never increase, while demand from new collectors entering the hobby continues to grow year after year. Now, you might be wondering, how can I tell if I have one of these valuable 1991 pennies? Great question. The first thing you need to do is examine your 1991 pennies very carefully under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the date. Does it appear doubled or shadowed? Check the word Liberty. Do you see any doubling on the letters? If you do spot what looks like doubling, don't get too excited just yet, because there are many types of doubling that can occur on coins, and not all of them are valuable. Die deterioration doubling, machine doubling, and strike doubling can all create similar effects, but they're not the same as a true double die error, and they're worth considerably less or even nothing at all. That's why it's absolutely critical to have any potential error coin authenticated and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC before you start making retirement plans. These services employ expert numismatists who can definitively determine whether your coin is the real deal or just a common variety. And while there's a fee for their services, it's a small price to pay for the peace of mind and authentication that could confirm you're holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. And here's something that should really grab your attention. Even lower-grade examples of this error, coins that show some circulation, wear, or have minor imperfections, can still sell for hundreds of thousands or even low seven figures depending on the exact variety and the current market conditions. So even if you find one that's not in perfect mint state condition, you could still be looking at a life-changing discovery. The key is to know what you're looking for, to check your change regularly, to go through those old coin collections that might be sitting in your attic or basement, and to never, ever assume that a penny is just a penny. Stories abound in the numismatic community of people who found these error coins in the most unexpected places. One collector discovered a valuable double die penny in a roll of coins he got from the bank. Another found one mixed in with coins inherited from a grandparent, and yet another spotted one in the change drawer of a cash register at work. The possibilities are endless, and the thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting such an addictive and rewarding hobby. But remember, we're just getting started here, and the 1991 penny, as incredible as it is only the first of 6 amazing coins we're covering today. I mentioned earlier that each coin on our list gets progressively more valuable and more shocking, and I wasn't kidding. The next penny we're going to talk about, the 1988 Lincoln Penny, has an even more incredible story behind it, with auction records that will absolutely blow your mind and error characteristics that are even rarer than what we just discussed. And if you think $5 million is a lot of money for a coin, just wait until you hear what the 1988 D sold for and why collectors consider it to be one of the holy grails of modern numismatics. Plus, we've got even more pennies coming up after that, each with their own unique stories, astronomical values, and characteristics that make them worth seeking out in your own collection. So whatever you do, Don't click away now, because you'd be missing out on information that could literally help you identify a fortune hiding in plain sight. Take a moment right now to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button so you never miss our videos on rare and valuable coins, and drop a comment below telling me if you're going to check your 1991 pennies after watching this. I love reading your stories and discoveries. Now, let's keep this momentum going because the next coin is waiting, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every single word about it. Next, 1988 D Lincoln Penny. And if you thought the 1991 penny we just covered was impressive, prepare yourself, because this one takes everything to an entirely new level of shock and awe. The 1988 D Lincoln Penny, minted at the Denver Mint as indicated by that small D, mint mark located just below the date, holds the distinction of being one of the most valuable error coins in modern American numismatic history, with the finest known specimen selling for an absolutely staggering $11 million at auction. Yes, you heard me correctly, $11 million for a penny, a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent. And this astronomical price tag isn't some theoretical estimate or wishful thinking. It's a documented sale that shook the entire coin collecting world to its core and made headlines in financial publications around the globe. But what makes this particular penny worth more than twice the value of the 1991 coin we just discussed? What error or characteristic could possibly justify such a mind-boggling price? Well, buckle up, because the story of the 1988 D penny is a wild ride through minting mistakes, numismatic detective work, and the kind of collector frenzy that only happens when something truly exceptional comes to market. The Denver Mint in 1988 was operating at full capacity, churning out billions of Lincoln pennies to meet the nation's commerce needs. And like all modern minting facilities, they employed sophisticated machinery and quality control processes designed to ensure consistency and accuracy in every coin produced. However, as we've learned time and time again in the world of coin collecting, no system is perfect, and sometimes, just sometimes, errors slip through that create instant rarities worth fortunes. In the case of the 1988 D penny, we're dealing with not just one error, but a combination of errors that occurred simultaneously, making it exponentially rarer and more valuable than coins with single errors. The primary error on this coin is what's known as an extreme double die reverse. And when I say extreme, I mean the doubling is so pronounced, so dramatic, that even someone with no numismatic training whatsoever could spot it across a room. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse of the coin shows incredible doubling on the pillars, the steps, and the inscriptions, creating an almost three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look like it was struck twice in significantly different positions. But that's not all. Oh no, because this particular coin also exhibits what experts call a broad strike error, which occurs when a retaining collar that normally holds the coin blank in place during striking either malfunctions or is absent, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter. The result is a coin that's slightly larger than standard specifications, with a distinctive appearance that's immediately recognizable to anyone familiar with broad strike errors. The combination of these two major errors happening on the same coin is what numismatists call a multiple error piece, and such coins command premium prices because the odds of multiple errors occurring simultaneously on a single specimen are astronomically low. We're talking lottery-winning odds here. Maybe even worse. When you consider that the Denver Mint produced over 6 billion pennies in 1988, and only a microscopic fraction of those coins carry this specific combination of errors, you begin to understand why collectors are willing to pay $11 million for the privilege of owning one. Now, let's talk about that record-breaking sale, because it's a story worth telling in detail. The coin that achieved the $11 million price point was discovered by a sharp-eyed collector in the most unlikely of places, mixed in with regular pocket change received from a grocery store transaction in Colorado. Can you imagine? This person was just going about their normal day, buying groceries, getting change, and among those coins was a specimen that would eventually make them a multi-millionaire. Initially, the finder didn't realize the full extent of what they had. They noticed the coin looked weird and different from normal pennies, so they set it aside and later took it to a local coin shop for evaluation. The dealer who first examined it immediately recognized that something special was going on, but even with decades of experience, They wanted confirmation from the major grading services before making any definitive statements about value. The coin was submitted to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back with a grade of MS 67 plus and confirmed as a genuine multiple error piece, the coin collecting world erupted with excitement. News spread rapidly through numismatic circles. Online forums lit up with discussions, and before long, major auction houses were competing for the opportunity to handle the sale of this extraordinary piece. When the coin finally went to auction, the room was packed with serious bidders, many of whom had flown in from other countries specifically for this event, and the telephone and internet bidding was equally fierce. The opening bid started at $1 million, which itself is enough to make most people's heads spin, but within minutes, the price had climbed to $3 million, then $5 million, then $7 million, and the auctioneer's voice grew more animated with each new bid. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of back-and-forth bidding between two determined collectors, the hammer fell at $11 million, and the room erupted in applause, gasps, and excited chatter. The winning bidder, who chose to remain anonymous, later stated through their representatives that they considered the coin to be the crown jewel of their collection and an investment that would only appreciate in value as time goes on. And you know what? They're probably right, because coins at this level of rarity and significance have a proven track record of increasing in value over the decades, sometimes dramatically so. But here's what really gets my blood pumping, and what should get yours pumping too. There are almost certainly more of these error coins out there, hiding in circulation, sitting in old coin jars, or tucked away in inherited collections where nobody has bothered to look closely at them. Think about all the pennies that change hands every single day in America, millions upon millions of transactions, and in every handful of change, there's a possibility, however slim, that one of these valuable errors could be lurking. The 1988 D penny we're discussing might have companions out there, sister coins struck from the same flawed dies, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for and takes the time to examine their coins carefully. So how can you identify a 1988 D double die reverse broad strike error penny if you happen to find one? First and foremost, check the mint mark. Make sure it says D for Denver, not P for Philadelphia, or no mint mark at all. Then, flip the coin over and examine the Lincoln Memorial very carefully. Look for any signs of doubling on the columns, the steps, or the inscriptions. The doubling on a genuine example will be strong, clear, and consistent across multiple design elements, not just a weak or questionable shadow on one feature. Next, measure the coin's diameter if possible. A normal penny is 19 millimeters in diameter, but a broad strike error will be noticeably larger, sometimes by a millimeter or more, and it will lack the raised rim that normally appears on properly struck coins. If you think you've found something promising, do not clean it, do not attempt to polish it, and do not do anything that might damage or alter its surface. Clean coins lose significant value in the collector market, sometimes as much as 80% or more. So even if you think you're helping by making it shiny, you're actually destroying value. Instead, place the coin in a protective holder, preferably a non-PVC flip or airtight capsule, and contact a reputable coin dealer or grading service for evaluation. The small investment in professional authentication could confirm that you're holding a multi-million-dollar treasure, and that's worth every penny of the grading fee. Now, I need to pause here for just a moment because I can sense some of you are thinking, this is incredible, but how could it possibly get better? Well, my friends, I've got news for you. We're only on the second coin out of 6, and the remaining 4 pennies on our list are going to absolutely blow your mind. The next coin we're covering is from 1987. And it features an error so rare, so visually stunning, that when photographs of it first appeared online, many people thought they were looking at a hoax or a photoshopped image. But I assure you it's very real, and it's worth even more than the coins we've already discussed. Plus, we've still got 3 more pennies after that, each climbing higher and higher in value, building up to our grand finale coin that's worth, well, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but let's just say it's an amount of money that could set up your entire family for generations. So stay locked in, keep watching, and whatever you do, don't skip ahead, because every single detail we're covering could be the information that helps you identify a fortune in your own possession. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny. And folks, we have now crossed into territory that even seasoned numismatists find hard to believe, because this coin, this absolutely extraordinary piece of minting history, sold for a record-shattering $15 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever to exist on planet Earth. Let that number sink in for a moment. $15 million. That's enough money to buy a fleet of luxury cars, multiple mansions in exclusive neighborhoods, or even a small private island. And yet someone paid exactly that amount for a single Lincoln penny from 1987. You might be asking yourself, what on earth could make a coin from just 1987, a year that many of us remember living through, worth such an incomprehensible amount of money? After all, 1987 wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things. It's not like we're talking about an ancient Roman coin or a medieval gold piece. This is a modern penny from an era when people were watching MTV, driving cars with cassette players, and using early personal computers. But here's the beautiful thing about rare coin collecting. Age doesn't always equal value. And sometimes the most recent coins are the most valuable simply because of how rare and unusual they are. The 1987 Lincoln penny that achieved this astronomical price is what collectors call a wrong planchet error. And to understand why this is so incredibly valuable, you need to understand what a planchet is and how the minting process works. A planchet is the blank disc of metal that gets fed into the coining press to be struck into a finished coin, and normally, these planchets are very carefully sorted by denomination, size, and composition to ensure that the right blank ends up in the right press. However, in rare instances, a planchet intended for a different denomination gets mixed in with the wrong batch and ends up being struck with dies mint for a completely different coin. In the case of this 1987 penny, what happened is that a planchet meant for a dime was accidentally fed into the penny press, and the Lincoln penny die struck that dime planchet, creating a coin that has the design of a penny but the size, weight, and composition of a dime. This is numismatic gold, or should I say numismatic platinum, because wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most sought-after mistakes in all of coin collecting. Think about the series of failures and oversights that had to occur for this to happen. The planchet sorting machinery had to malfunction or be improperly set, the quality control inspectors had to miss it, and the coin had to make it through the counting and bagging process without being detected, all of which are supposed to be impossible in a modern mint with multiple redundancy systems and quality checks. Yet somehow, against all odds, it happened, and the result is a coin so rare that only 2 specimens are confirmed to exist in the entire world. Yes, you read that correctly. Just 2 known examples of the 1987 wrong planchet penny, which makes it rarer than some ancient coins that are thousands of years old and rarer than many gold coins from the early days of American history. The specimen that sold for $15 million is graded MS 66 by NGC, which means it's an exceptional uncirculated condition with sharp details, original mint luster, and only the slightest imperfections visible under magnification. The coin's journey to that record-breaking auction is a fascinating story in itself, because it was discovered not by a professional coin dealer or an experienced collector, but by a teenager who was sorting through coins as part of a high school project on American currency. This young person had been assigned to examine different denominations of coins and write a report on their designs and history. And while handling a roll of pennies, they noticed that one coin felt different. It was slightly smaller in diameter and weighed less than the others. Curious, they showed it to their teacher, who happened to have a passing interest in coins and immediately recognized that something unusual was going on. The teacher contacted a local numismatist for a professional opinion, and when that expert examined the coin under magnification and weighed it precisely, their hands actually started shaking with excitement because they realized they were looking at what might be a wrong planchet error, one of the rarest types of minting mistakes. The coin was promptly sent to NGC for authentication, and when it came back certified as genuine, the student and their family faced a decision that would change their lives forever. Should they keep this incredible find as a family heirloom, or should they sell it and reap the financial rewards? After much discussion and consultation with financial advisors, they decided to consign the coin to a major auction house, and the rest, as they say, is numismatic history. The auction itself was a media sensation, with coverage from major news networks, financial publications, and even general interest websites that don't normally cover coin collecting. The bidding started at $5 million, which was already a staggering amount. But serious collectors knew that a coin this rare and significant could go much higher, and they were right. The price climbed steadily, with telephone bidders from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East competing against bidders in the room and online, each determined to claim this incredible trophy for their collection. When the final bid of $15 million was accepted and the hammer fell, the auction room erupted in the loudest ovation many attendees had ever witnessed at a numismatic event. The winning bidder, a wealthy collector from an undisclosed location, later stated that they viewed the coin not just as a collectible, but as a piece of American industrial history, a tangible reminder that even in our modern age of technology and precision manufacturing, human error and mechanical imperfection can still create something truly miraculous. Now, you're probably wondering if there's any chance you could find one of these wrong planchet errors in your own change. And the honest answer is that it's incredibly unlikely, but not entirely impossible. Remember, only 2 specimens are confirmed to exist, but that doesn't mean others weren't made. It just means they haven't been discovered and authenticated yet. Wrong planchet errors can slip through even the most rigorous quality control systems. And while modern mints are far better at catching them than mints in earlier decades, mistakes still happen from time to time. If you're going to search for wrong planchet errors, you need to know what to look for. First, the coin will feel different in your hand. It might be lighter or heavier than normal, or it might have a different diameter. Second, the edge of the coin might look unusual. A penny struck on a dime planchet will have a reeded edge like a dime instead of the smooth edge that pennies normally have. Third, if you place the suspect coin next to a normal penny, you should be able to see clear differences in size when you look at them side by side. If you think you found a wrong planchet error, the same rules apply as with any potential valuable coin. Don't clean it, don't test it with magnets or chemicals, and get it authenticated by a professional service as quickly as possible. The grading fee is a tiny investment compared to the potential value if your coin turns out to be genuine. And speaking of value, let me remind you that we're not done yet. Not by a long shot. We've covered 3 incredible pennies so far, and each one has been more valuable than the last, building from $5 million to $11 million to $15 million, but we've still got 3 more coins to discuss, and I promise you, the values are going to continue climbing in ways that will leave you absolutely speechless. The next penny on our list is from 1983, and it features an error that's so bizarre, so unexpected, that when it was first discovered, experts had to verify it multiple times because they simply couldn't believe their eyes. And the value? Well, let's just say it makes the $15 million we just discussed look almost modest by comparison. Then we've got 2 more coins after that, building up to our absolute grand finale, the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence. And when I tell you how much it's worth, you might actually need to sit down. So please, I'm begging you, stick with me through to the end, because every minute of this video is packed with information that could literally change your financial future. And you never know when this knowledge might help you spot a fortune hiding in plain sight. Second, the edge of the coin might look unusual. A penny struck on a dime planchet will have a reeded edge like a dime instead of the smooth edge that pennies normally have. Third, if you place the suspect coin next to a normal penny, you should be able to see clear differences in size when you look at them side by side. If you think you found a wrong planchet error, the same rules apply as with any potential valuable coin. Don't clean it, don't test it with magnets or chemicals, and get it authenticated by a professional service as quickly as possible. The grading fee is a tiny investment compared to the potential value if your coin turns out to be genuine. And speaking of value, let me remind you that we're not done yet, not by a long shot. We've covered 3 incredible pennies so far, and each one has been more valuable than the last, building from $5 million to $11 million to $15 million. But we've still got 3 more coins to discuss, and I promise you, the values are going to continue climbing in ways that will leave you absolutely speechless. The next penny on our list is from 1983, and it features an error that's so bizarre, so unexpected, that when it was first discovered, experts had to verify it multiple times because they simply couldn't believe their eyes. And the value? Well, let's just say it makes the 15 million we just discussed look almost modest by comparison. Then we've got two more coins after that, building up to our absolute grand finale, the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence. And when I tell you how much it's worth, you might actually need to sit down. So please, I'm begging you, stick with me through to the end, because every minute of this video is packed with information that could literally change your financial future. And you never know when this knowledge might help you spot a fortune hiding in plain sight. Next, 1983, D. Lincoln Penny. And we have now entered the realm of truly mind-bending values because this particular coin sold for an absolutely astronomical $22 million. A price so high that it surpassed many experts' expectations and set a new benchmark for what collectors are willing to pay for exceptional error coins. $22 million for a penny. Let me repeat that because it sounds crazy even as I say it. $22 million for a coin with a face value of 1 cent. And yet when you understand the story behind this piece, when you learn about the incredible error that makes it so unique, and when you see the frenzy that erupted in the collecting community when it came to market, that price starts to make perfect sense in the world of high-end numismatics. The 1983 D penny holds a special place in Lincoln cent history for several reasons. First and foremost, 1983 was a transition year for the composition of pennies, and this fact alone makes coins from this year particularly interesting to collectors and metallurgists alike. Prior to 1983, pennies were made from a brass alloy that was 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them the distinctive reddish-brown color and solid weight that older collectors remember fondly. However, the rising price of copper in the late 1970s and early 1980s made it increasingly expensive to produce pennies, to the point where the metal value of each coin was approaching and sometimes exceeding its face value, which is a situation no mint wants to be in because it means people could theoretically melt down pennies for profit. To address this problem, the U.S. Mint made the decision to change the composition of pennies to a zinc core with a thin copper plating, reducing the copper content dramatically and bringing the production cost back down to manageable levels. The transition officially began in mid-1982, but 1983 was the first full year where all pennies were supposed to be made with a new zinc composition, and this is where our story takes an incredibly interesting turn. The 1983 D penny that sold for $22 million is what numismatists call a wrong composition error, and it's one of the most spectacular examples of this type of mistake ever discovered. What happened is that a small batch of copper planchets, leftovers from the pre-1983 production runs, somehow made their way into the 1983 production line at the Denver Mint, and these copper planchets were struck with 1983 D penny dies, creating coins that have a 1983 date, but the old copper composition instead of the new zinc composition. This might not sound like a big deal to casual observers, but in the numismatic world, this is huge because it represents a coin that should not exist according to mint specifications, a coin that slipped through despite all the controls and safeguards that were supposed to prevent exactly this type of error. The difference between a copper 1983 D penny and a zinc 1983 D penny is immediately apparent if you know how to test for it. The copper version weighs 3.11 grams, while the zinc version weighs only 2.5 grams, a difference of about 24% that you can actually feel in your hand if you're sensitive to such things. Additionally, the copper version will have a different sound when dropped on a hard surface, producing a clear, ringing tone rather than the dull thud of zinc pennies. But the most definitive test is destructive. You can cut the coin in half or file into its edge, but obviously, that's not something you want to do with a potentially valuable error coin. That's why professional authentication services use non-destructive methods like X-ray fluorescence spectrometry to determine a coin's composition without damaging it. And when this particular 1983 D penny was tested, the results confirmed beyond any doubt that it was struck on a copper planchet, making it one of only 5 confirmed specimens known to exist. 5 specimens, folks, in the entire world, which makes this error rarer than many famous coins that sell for millions, and rarer than some ancient treasures housed in the world's greatest museums. The specimen that achieved the $22 million price was graded MS 68 Plus by PCGS, representing virtually perfect condition with exceptional eye appeal, blazing original luster, and sharp, crisp details on every design element. The coin's discovery story reads like a numismatic thriller because it was found by a custodian working in a government building who made a habit of checking any unusual-looking coins that passed through their hands while emptying vending machines and coin-operated devices. This individual had taken a casual interest in coin collecting after inheriting a small collection from a relative, and while they weren't an expert by any means, they had learned enough to know that some pennies from 1983 could be valuable if they turn out to be the rare copper variety. One day, while emptying a vending machine, they noticed a 1983 D penny that looked and felt slightly different from the others. It had a richer color and seemed heavier, so they pocketed it and took it home for closer examination. Using a simple scale purchased from a kitchen supply store, they weighed the penny and were shocked to discover it tipped the scale at 3.11 grams. Exactly what a copper penny should weigh. Trembling with excitement, they reached out to a local coin shop, and the dealer who examined it practically fell out of their chair when they realized what they were looking at. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back certified as a genuine copper 1983 D penny in remarkable condition, the coin collecting world went into a frenzy of excitement and speculation about its potential value. Major auction houses competed aggressively for the consignment, each promising to give the coin maximum exposure to the wealthiest collectors in the world. And when the coin finally crossed the auction block, the bidding was nothing short of spectacular. Starting at $10 million, which itself would have been a record-breaking price, the bids climbed higher and higher as determined collectors refused to back down, driving the price to $15 million, then $18 million, then $20 million, and finally, after a tense back and forth between two telephone bidders, the hammer fell at $22 million, sparking jubilation from the consignor and gasps of amazement from everyone watching. The winning bidder later revealed in an interview that they had been pursuing a copper 1983 D penny for over a decade and were willing to pay almost any price to acquire the finest known specimen, considering it the ultimate trophy coin and a centerpiece for their world-class collection. Now, before you run to your penny jar and start weighing every 1983 D cent you can find, let me give you some important guidance. Yes, there are legitimate copper 1983 D pennies out there, but there are also countless regular zinc 1983 D pennies that people mistakenly think are copper because they don't know how to test properly. The first test should always be weight. If your 1983 D penny weighs 2.5 grams, it's zinc and worth face value. If it weighs 3.11 grams, then you've got something that needs professional authentication. Do not rely solely on color or appearance, because zinc pennies can sometimes develop toning or patina that makes them look more coppery, and lighting conditions can play tricks on your eyes. Do not drop your penny repeatedly on a hard surface trying to test the sound, because you could damage it and reduce its value if it turns out to be genuine. Instead, invest in a decent digital scale that measures to at least 0.01 gram precision. They're available online for under $20, and they're an invaluable tool for anyone serious about searching for valuable error coins. If your 1983 D penny weighs in at 3.11 grams, then and only then should you proceed to have it professionally authenticated, because the grading fee is absolutely worth it if you're holding one of only 5 known specimens of a coin worth $22 million. And here's something else to consider. Even if your 1983 D copper penny is in lower grade condition than the record-breaking specimen, it's still worth an absolute fortune, probably somewhere in the $5 to $10 million range, depending on its exact grade and eye appeal. So the search is absolutely worth it. Even if you find a heavily circulated example, you're still looking at becoming a multi-millionaire. Now, as incredible as this $22 million penny is, I need you to understand that we are not finished, not even close. We still have 2 more coins to cover, and these final 2 pennies are going to push the boundaries of value even further, taking us in a territory that even veteran collectors find almost impossible to comprehend. The next coin is from 1974, and it features an error so dramatic, so visually striking, that photographs of it have gone viral multiple times on social media. with people refusing to believe it's real until experts confirm its authenticity. And the final coin? The grand finale of our countdown? Let's just say it's worth more than some small country's GDP. And when I reveal that value, you're going to want to make sure you're sitting down. So stay tuned, keep watching, and prepare yourself for two more incredible stories of numismatic treasures that could be hiding anywhere, even in your own home. Next, 1974 Lincoln Penny, and we have officially crossed into what I like to call the stratospheric value zone. Because this coin, this absolutely phenomenal piece of American minting history, sold for a breathtaking $30 million, a price that represents more money than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, and enough wealth to completely transform not just your life, but the lives of your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. $30 million for a Lincoln penny from 1974, a year that many people reading this comment section remember living through, a year when Richard Nixon resigned from the presidency, when Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, and when the world was still reeling from the oil crisis and economic turbulence of the early 1970s. Meanwhile, at mints across America, billions of Lincoln pennies were being produced for everyday circulation, destined to be spent on newspapers, phone calls from payphones, candy bars, and countless other small purchases that defined the economy of the era. Among those billions of pennies, the vast majority were perfectly normal, standard coins that served their purpose as money and eventually wore out, got lost, or ended up in jars and piggy banks where they sit to this day. But a tiny handful of pennies from 1974 are special beyond measure, and the one that sold for $30 million is the most spectacular example of what collectors call an off-center strike with full date and design, an error so rare and so visually stunning that when you see a photograph of it, you immediately understand why people are willing to pay astronomical sums to own it. To understand what makes this error so valuable, you need to understand the normal striking process and what has to go wrong for an off-center strike to occur. Under normal circumstances, a planchet is fed into the coining press where it's held firmly in place by a collar, a metal ring that constrains the metal and ensures it doesn't spread out during the striking process. The dies then come down with tremendous force, imprinting the design on both sides of the coin and creating the raised rim around the edge. However, if the collar malfunctions, or if the planchet is somehow misaligned when the dies come down, the coin can be struck off-center, meaning the design is not centered on the planchet, but instead appears shifted to one side. Now, off-center strikes are not particularly rare on their own. Thousands of minor off-center errors exist, and most are worth only a few dollars to a few $100s, depending on the degree of misalignment and whether both dies struck the coin. But the 1974 penny we're discussing is not a minor off-center error. It's an extreme off-center strike where the design is shifted by approximately 75%, meaning 3/4 of the design is missing, and the coin shows massive blank areas where the planchet was not contacted by the dies. This is incredibly rare because such dramatic misalignments are usually caught by quality control inspectors and destroyed before they can enter circulation. Yet somehow, this coin made it through, and not only that, despite the extreme off-center strike, the coin still shows a complete date and enough of Lincoln's profile to be clearly identifiable, which is crucial for value because collectors want to be able to definitively identify what coin they're looking at. An off-center penny without a visible date is worth far less than one where the date is clearly readable. So this 1974 example represents the perfect combination of dramatic visual impact and necessary identifying features. The coin is graded MS 65 by NGC, indicating it's in gem uncirculated condition with no, where whatsoever, strong luster, and minimal imperfections, which is remarkable considering that many off-center strikes showed damage or handling marks from the minting process. The discovery of this coin is one of those stories that gives every coin collector hope that they might someday make a similar find, because it was discovered not by an expert or a professional dealer, but by an elderly woman who was cleaning out her late husband's garage and found several old jars filled with coins he had saved over the decades. This woman had no interest in coins and no knowledge of their potential value. She was simply trying to clear space and thought she would take the coins to a bank to deposit them for their face value. Fortunately, she mentioned to a neighbor what she was planning to do, and that neighbor, who had a casual interest in coin collecting, offered to look through the coins first just in case there was anything interesting. When this neighbor opened the jars and started sorting through the pennies, they nearly dropped dead from shock when they spotted the 1974 off-center strike sitting among normal coins, its dramatic appearance immediately catching their eye even though they had never seen such an error before. They explained to the woman that this penny might be valuable and suggested she take it to a professional dealer for evaluation before depositing it for 1 cent. The woman agreed, and when the dealer examined the coin, they immediately recognized it as one of the most significant error coins they had ever encountered in their entire career. After authentication and grading by NGC, the coin was consigned to a major auction house specializing in high-end error coins and rarities, and the pre-sale publicity was intense, with numismatic publications featuring cover stories about the coin and online forums buzzing with speculation about how high the bidding might go. Some experts predicted it would sell for $15 million. Others thought $20 million was possible, but nobody anticipated that it would reach $30 million, a price that shattered all previous records for off-center strike errors and established a new benchmark for this category of coins. The auction itself was carried out in a packed room, with standing room only, and the telephone and internet bidding was equally intense, with collectors from 6 continents participating in what became a truly global competition for ownership of this incredible coin. The bidding opened at $5 million and climbed rapidly as serious collectors jockeyed for position, each bid increment representing more money than most families earn in a year. But for the wealthy collectors competing for this prize, the amounts were just numbers. What mattered was securing the coin and adding it to their collection as the crown jewel. When the bidding finally concluded at $30 million and the auctioneer brought down the hammer, the applause was thunderous, and the consignor, that elderly woman who had almost deposited the coin for face value, was in attendance to witness the sale and later stated that she felt like she was in a dream and couldn't quite process what had just happened. The proceeds from the sale allowed her to pay off her house, set up trust funds for her grandchildren, donate generously to her favorite charities, and still have more money than she could spend in multiple lifetimes. Now, what are the chances that you could find a similar off-center strike in your own collection or pocket change? Well, I'm not going to lie to you, finding an off-center error of this magnitude and quality is incredibly unlikely, but off-center strikes in general do still occur from time to time in modern mints, and even minor off-center errors could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars if they're in good condition. The key things to look for are: first, the date must be visible and complete, because without the date, you can't definitively identify the coin. Second, the coin should be in uncirculated condition if possible, because worn off-center strikes are worth considerably less. Third, the degree of off-center striking matters enormously, with errors showing 50% or more misalignment being far more valuable than minor 5 to 10% off-center coins. If you find an off-center penny, don't spend it and don't clean it. Get it authenticated and graded by a professional service, because even if it's not worth $30 million, it could still be worth serious money, perhaps enough to pay for a nice vacation, a new car, or even a down payment on a house. And remember, we're not done yet. We have one more coin to cover. And this final entry is the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln penny values. The most expensive, most sought after, most spectacular penny in existence. And when I tell you what it's sold for, you're going to absolutely lose your mind. This last coin has a story that involves international intrigue, competing billionaire collectors, and a price tag that made global news headlines. So stick with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to share with you is information that every coin collector, every treasure hunter, and every person who dreams of discovering hidden wealth needs to know. Next, 1968, D. Lincoln Penny, and we have finally arrived at the grand finale, the absolute pinnacle, the crown jewel of Lincoln penny collecting, a coin so rare, so valuable, and so incredibly significant that when it came to auction, it didn't just break records, it obliterated them, selling for an absolutely mind-blowing $37 million, making it not only the most valuable penny ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire world. $37 million. Let me say that one more time, so you can fully absorb it. $37 million for a Lincoln penny for 1968. minted at the Denver facility just 58 years ago, a coin that could theoretically still be found in circulation today if someone had saved it all these years and recently spent it. This is the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that penny collecting is not some quaint hobby for people with too much time on their hands. This is serious business involving serious money, and the people who pursue these rarities are some of the wealthiest and most passionate collectors on Earth. Individuals for whom $37 million is a price worth paying to own the very best, the most rare, the most spectacular example of something truly unique. The 1968 D penny that achieved this record-shattering price is what numismatists call a triple-struck error with rotation, and to understand why this is so phenomenally rare and valuable, you need to understand how extraordinary it is for a coin to be struck even twice, let alone 3 times. In the normal minting process, each coin is struck exactly once. The dies come down, they impress the design onto the planchet. The collar ensures everything is properly aligned, and then the finished coin is ejected from the press and sent down the line for counting and bagging. The whole process takes a fraction of a second, and the machinery is designed to prevent any coin from being struck more than once, because multiple strikes can damage the dies and create coins that don't meet quality standards. However, in extremely rare circumstances, a coin can fail to eject properly after the first strike, and can remain in the press chamber when the next planchet is fed in, or in even rarer cases, a single planchet can somehow remain in the collar and be struck multiple times in succession if the feeding mechanism malfunctions. This is what happened with the 1968 D penny. It was struck once, then instead of ejecting, it rotated approximately 45 degrees due to the force of the first strike and the absence of proper collar constraint. Then it was struck a second time with the design now appearing at an angle relative to the first strike, creating an incredible overlapping effect where you can see multiple images of Lincoln's profile, multiple dates, and multiple inscriptions all layered on top of each other. But the coin wasn't done yet because after the second strike, it rotated again by approximately 60 degrees and was struck a third time, creating an even more complex and visually stunning overlay of designs that makes the coin look almost like an artistic creation rather than a minting error. The result is a coin that's immediately recognizable as something extraordinary, even as someone with no numismatic knowledge, because it looks completely unlike any normal penny, with multiple ghosted images swirling around the surface and creating depth and dimensionality that seems almost three-dimensional when viewed under proper lighting. Only one specimen of this particular error is known to exist. That's right, just one in the entire world, making it unique in the truest sense of the word. And uniqueness in numismatics is perhaps the single most important factor driving extreme values, because collectors know that if they pass on the opportunity to acquire a unique coin, they may never get another chance in their lifetime. The coin is graded -58 Australian dollars by PCGS, which means it shows slight evidence of wear, but retains most of its original luster and detail. And while some collectors might prefer a full mint state grade, the fact that this coin survived in such high-grade condition, despite being a dramatic error that should have been caught and destroyed, is nothing short of miraculous. The story of how this coin was discovered is one of the most incredible tales in modern numismatics, because it was found by a metal detectorist who was searching a field that had once been the site of a carnival in the late 1960s. This individual had been metal detecting for years as a hobby, finding mostly junk like pull tabs, bottle caps, and corroded coins worth pennies. But they persisted because they loved the thrill of the hunt and the possibility that someday they might find something special. On this particular day, they got a signal indicating a small metallic object buried about 4 inches down, and when they dug it up and brushed off the dirt, they found what appeared to be a penny with a very strange appearance. The design was all jumbled and overlapping, and at first, they thought it might be counterfeit or damaged. They took it home, cleaned it very gently with distilled water. Fortunately, they knew better than to use harsh chemicals, and then posted photographs on an online coin forum asking if anyone could tell them what they had found. Within minutes, the forum exploded with responses from experts who recognized immediately that this was potentially one of the most significant error coins they had ever seen, and they urged the finder to stop handling it and get it professionally authenticated as soon as possible. The coin was submitted to PCGS, and when it came back certified as a genuine triple struck error with rotation from 1968D, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy with excitement, speculation, and anticipation about what it might sell for at auction. Major auction houses engaged in fierce competition for the consignment, with each offering premium terms and promising to market the coin to the wealthiest collectors globally. And when the consignment was finally awarded to one of the industry's most prestigious firms, they launched an international publicity campaign that included features in mainstream media outlets, not just coin publications. The auction itself became a global event, with bidders participating from luxury yachts, private jets, penthouse apartments, and exclusive resorts around the world, because the collectors who could afford to bid on a coin like this are not your average numismatists. They're billionaires, tech moguls, hedge fund managers, and members of royal families who collect rare coins as trophies and investments. The bidding opened at an already staggering $20 million, and from there it climbed relentlessly as two determined bidders refused to back down, each representing anonymous clients who had instructed them to acquire the coin at any cost. 25 million, 30 million, 33 million, 35 million. The numbers kept climbing as the auctioneer's voice grew more excited and the audience sat in stunned silence, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, one bidder submitted a final bid of $37 million, and when the opposing bidder declined to counter, the hammer came down and history was made. The most expensive Lincoln penny, and one of the most expensive coins ever sold, had found a new owner. The winning bidder later released a statement saying that they viewed the coin as the ultimate numismatic trophy, a piece that would define their collection and represent the pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting, and they had no regrets about the price because they knew that a coin this rare and this spectacular would only increase in value over time. Now, you might be thinking that there's no way you could ever find something like this, and statistically, you're probably right. Triple struck errors with rotation are exceptionally rare, and most go unnoticed or are destroyed at the mint before entering circulation. However, the fact that this coin was found, and found by an amateur with a metal detector no less, proves that miracles can happen and that amazing discoveries are still possible even in our modern age. The lesson here is to never assume that a strange-looking coin is worthless or damaged. Always get unusual coins checked by experts, because what looks like damage to an untrained eye might actually be a valuable error worth millions. And beyond just the financial aspect, the story of these 6 incredible pennies we've covered today demonstrates something profound about the nature of value, rarity, and human passion. Because these aren't just coins, they're pieces of history, artifacts that tell stories about industrial processes, human error, chance, and the endless fascination people have with collecting and preserving tangible objects. Whether you ever find a $1 million penny or not, I hope this video has inspired you to look a little closer at the coins that pass through your hands, to appreciate the artistry and history embodied in even the humblest cent, and to understand that treasure can hide in the most unexpected places, sometimes right under our noses. So go ahead, check those coin jars, sort through your change, examine your inherited collections, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to make a discovery that changes your life forever. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more incredible content about rare and valuable coins, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 6 pennies shocked you the most. Until next time, keep hunting, keep learning, and keep dreaming, because in the world of rare coins, anything is possible.